so bad right now that the average woman's income is less than a Venice Beach mine. And they're great. They have no walls, but you think they're in a box. Women are in a box of oppression.
But there's good news. The U.S. has achieved gender parity across all levels of the education system.
And women earn over 2/3 of all master's degrees.
And earn over half of all doctoral degrees.
But the gender gap in the workplace hasn't seen the same shift. For every 100 men who are promoted,
only 79 women are promoted.
Hey ladies, welcome to Shatter with Dr. J. I'm your host, Dr. J. Welcome to this week's episode. Better have my money. I am so excited to talk about this topic. It is something that is ever present in our world, and I think you're really going to enjoy talking about it. Before we jump into the content, I want to share my quote. Y'all know I love quotes. So because I am a woman, I must make unusual efforts to succeed. If I fail, no one will say she doesn't have what it takes. They'll say women don't have what it takes. And wherever you are on the issue, I think that just contemplating how much that does or doesn't ring true is really something worth thinking about just as a woman. So I love that quote. Want to throw that out there for y'all before we jump into this week's content. I'm excited to host this lady. I absolutely love her. Love being in her space. And we are going to jump into this topic and give y'all the real. So welcome for me, Miss Stockhausen. Hey girl, hey. Hey girl, hey. I want to kind of just talk about the topic, but I want to hear about you too. So tell us just a little bit about who's Monica, who's Moni.
I haven't heard that. That's my nickname. So by trade, I am a professor at JV College. I teach business, and I love teaching. I think when I was thrown into the fire, which I say fire because I was thrown into a college classroom when I was 24 years old with no teaching experience whatsoever in New York City.
That's truly a fire.
Yeah. And I remember that day like it was like when I got hired. It was the provost. She called me in for an interview. She said, do the 15-minute demonstration, and then we'll do the actual interview. So I did it. I killed it. And then I went into the office and she says, it was a Tuesday, sunny day. I know it's a sunny day because it's never sunny in New York City.
Okay.
And then she says, you're hired and you start Friday. I was like, wait, what? Now I knew when I went in that I could be hired, like duh.
Yeah.
Right? But to start Friday with no teaching experience, I mean, I did like workshops and whatever, but teaching at that level was crazy. And needless to say, my first class was terrible. Absolutely
you
terrible.
You left room for improvement.
A lot. A lot of room. Students were complaining, everything.
Oh.
But I didn't know.
Yeah.
No training, nothing. So I gave myself that grace.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
After that, I beefed it up. I went, like, Starbucks was my office. And I just was like, if this is what you love, Monica, figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out. And I did, and I became one of the best professors on campus. So I'm really glad that they complained, because had they not complained, I wouldn't have got my life together.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to come back home because it's cold in New York. It's really cold, and we had hurricanes and all that. So I came back home, and I landed 2 positions teaching at Cal State San Bernardino and Chaffey College. And I got to watch like the vets at work. And when you're around vets, you become them. And now I have other professors that say you're amazing, and they've never once been in my classroom. Maybe like one did their observation. You know how they do observation like every 3 years, just to check in. But basically, if your students love you, your clients love you, the word gets around very, very fast. And my class has a wait list every single time.
Wow.
And that's a large part of who I am. And I love it.
Oh,
I love it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I want to hear a little bit about Nerdy Girls Rock. That's your thing. That's the thing I know you for too. So tell us, like, what is a nerdy girl?
So a nerdy girl's a smart woman, and that's what we say.
Okay.
We develop smart women,
Okay.
right? It's about learning how to get access to the resources you wanted. It's about becoming the woman that you fantasize about, right? Everyone has this idea of themselves, but in reality, you feel like you're not her yet.
Yeah.
You feel like there's this gap between this fantasy and reality. And when I was younger, I was really awkward and really shy, but I was smart. I was like damn smart, right? But I didn't own it. I wanted to be someone else so bad. I don't think people really know that about me. I don't think they know, because I walk in and they see Monica, they see Professor Stockhausen, they see an entrepreneur, they see that I've made it through and broke through a lot of limitations.
Yeah.
But they don't see the rough parts.
So what was it about this girl that you wanted to be?
She was outspoken.
Okay.
She advocated for herself and other people. And she wasn't afraid to change the environment in the room. And I noticed that because I noticed that I liked that about other people and other women.
Okay.
So I noticed when I look at another woman and I'm saying, oh, I like that about her, it's because deep down it's in me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, because the woman you wanted to be is the woman you are.
Yeah. Yeah. But it took me a minute, you know?
Okay,
It took me a minute to really own that. I kept trying to try on other characters, right? And then when I hit college, you know, you kind of get to start over in college. You got to be like, okay, well, nobody knows me, so I'm going to redo this. But Monica, listen, try yourself for a change. See how you work. Just try it.
Yeah.
So what? You have these weaknesses. You were both weak and strong. How about that?
Yeah.
You know? And so leaning into it, that's when Nerdy Girl started birthing. Because I was like, oh, I'm kind of smart. Just a little bit. You know, I'm kind of smart. If I work a little bit harder, I can be even smarter. And then I started to value it so much that I actually love the compliment of you're so smart, you're so strategic, wow, you're so resourceful, way over than you're cute or you're sexy or you're like, I can live, I don't know about you, but I can live off of one compliment for a week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let that pump me up.
We love compliments. We have a compliment game that we play at some of the events that I throw. It's like a compliment game. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good. It feels good. It feels good. And I just started to shift. I said, you know, anybody can be cute. You know, anybody, but not everybody can strategize and not everybody can use what they have, their family background, their culture, their intellect, the books that they just read yesterday, and create something out of that. And when people saw that and affirmed that about me, I said, oh, okay, Monica, I think this is a thing. So I was smart, but I needed development. And that's what Nerdy Girl's about. I develop smart women that need development.
Got it.
Personal and professional development. Because that person that you want to become is literally around the corner.
Yeah.
But there's some much needed internal work that you have to do in order for you to be the person that you will really, really want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we look at women and say, listen, we're going to make you confident. We're going to allow you to be or show you how to be comfortable with yourself. So we do a lot of social emotional development, which is crazy because that development stops at like elementary school, maybe even preschool. No one gets it after that. And also, depending on what district you live in, nobody gets it after that.
Yeah, because everything else becomes so content focused rather than like
subject. Right.
Yep.
So first we look at your social emotional. Do you have a positive and rewarding relationship with yourself and other people?
Yeah.
Right? Do you have that? So we look at that, and then we look at her skill set. Is it competitive in the marketplace? Do you have a skill set that people look at the resume and be like, just like everybody else? Or do you have something where it stands out and this is something that employers actually need right now? Are you competitive, right? Even if you have that psych degree, which is like a general degree. I have a psych degree and I was like, well, what do I do now, right? Even if you have that degree, what now? Employers are looking for data analytics. Employers are looking for social media marketing, digital branding. They're looking for people who have experience in AI or coding. You can go get a certificate real quick.
Yeah.
Right? So we look at that and we look at how to position you. Sometimes you don't have a degree. Sometimes the girls don't have any educational experience or a lot of professional experience, but we use what you have. So we look at who she is, what she can do, and then we expand her social capital. So a nerdy girl, we don't say network, we say social capital.
Yeah.
Because you got to have power players in your back pocket. You have to have people who can refer you, who can put you in places that you can't go on your own.
Yeah.
Who at a drop of a dime, if they put your name on the table, they accept it just merely off of who that person is.
Yeah, and that distinction is key, because a lot of times you have people and it's like you call it networking, but you're just hanging out with your friends. They don't have any more clout than you do. Y'all are all at the same level.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like you're collaborating, but it's not the type of collaboration that's going to push you forward. And really, the term social capital, I don't know about you, but for me, that's not a term that I learned until I went to college. That wasn't something that like my parents were talking to me about, like, hey, we're going to this event so we can build our social capital and rub shoulders with the right people. Like, you know, and so it's almost like this thing that everybody needs to know, but you got whole sectors of people who don't realize how important that is.
Yeah.
And if they realize how important it is, it's seen from a negative standpoint of, you know, schmoozing or, you know, all kind of other stuff that they call it. And so I like that you're teaching them the language, but that you're giving them the tools to actually build it. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. It's relationships. I can think of maybe 2 jobs I've gotten cold. Most of it's been a relationship, and not nepotism. I'm talking about nepotism. I'm talking about me being qualified for the opportunity, and someone allowed me to walk through that door. But I had to take it to the goal.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
and not a replacement for being competent. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Right. You qualified, and you just needed someone to take a chance on you. So relationships, who you know, I always say, you know, it's not who you know, but who knows you. I mean, because come on, I know Beyonce, but she don't know me. Right? Like, what can I do? She's not my social capital, you know? But for the people who do know you and know what you're about and know that you're a secure person, you can do a lot with that.
Yeah. So you're kind of getting into this climbing of the, you know, capital, this ladder here.
Yeah.
So when you are talking about climbing the corporate ladder, or a woman is thinking about climbing the corporate ladder, I've been in this role, I've got what it takes, I'm doing a pretty good job, but what is your advice for a woman who says, this is where I am, but this is where I want to be, and I want to do it in the corporate world. I'm not jumping into the entrepreneurship thing. I want to do it in the corporate setting. So what is your advice for her?
So it depends. Industry, how saturated that market is, who's trying to get that job, her experience, her skill set, what mentorship she has in the company.
Okay.
You have to have support within your industry.
Okay.
You want to become a go-to authority for that type of topic, right? What do people come to you for? Do they come to you for a good time, or do they come to you for content, right? And so in corporate, when they're looking to hire someone, when they're looking to move someone to the next level, they're looking for someone who embodies the industry. Not only that, but understands the trends, looks at the patterns, and knows how to move the industry forward. Yeah. So what are you posting? First of all, are you on LinkedIn? And if you are, what are you posting? Are you posting things that have everything to do with your industry? Because they're looking for you to speak on behalf of the industry. Because if you're trying to get into leadership, you have to lead with your voice. But if you've been quiet the entire time, if you've been just keeping your head down and doing your work, I mean, then who knows you and who knows what you do? I had a nerdy girl who was really upset that she didn't get this promotion, right? So she called me. She's like, oh my God, the man got it, all these things. I said, so, you know, who knew that you wanted the promotion? She said, no one. Oh, so no one knew, not your manager, not your supervisor, no one knew that you wanted to, only you in your little heart, you knew.
Your little heart.
You knew, right? I said, you know, do you have any like friends in the company? She's like, no, I keep my head down and blah, blah, blah. I said, so who got it? She's like, oh yeah, this guy. And I said, what about him? What do you think? Like, what do you think about him? And I was like, oh yeah, he's super friendly, always snoozing and rubbing elbows with people. I said, well, that's interesting. They probably knew that he wanted the job. And they probably knew, and they told him that it was open, and then he applied. Did you apply? Girl, she didn't even apply. What? I feel like it's self-sabotage.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, sure, you wanted it, and we all want a lot of things, right? But what did you do about it? Did you talk to your manager and let her know or let him know that you wanted it? Did you ask her to look over your resume? Did you realize? So I told her, I said, hey, talk to your manager. Maybe there's another position, whatever. And she talked, she was like, oh, the manager said, oh, I didn't know you were interested. I didn't know you were interested. So when I think about a woman who wants to move up, there's a few things you have to consider.
Yeah.
Right? Who are you in that corporate arena? Do people respect your work? Do you talk to people? Do you create teams? Are you on teams? Do you volunteer for work? Do you go above and beyond? Right? Who do people know you to be? Would you promote you right now?
Wow.
Would you promote?
That's an excellent
It's a
question.
real. Would you promote you where you're at? You know. And I always tell people, okay, let me be fair. There's some positions that are learning positions, and there's some that are knowing positions. Right? A knowing position, you pretty much either have to be lateral, where you came from it from somewhere else, and you know the knowledge base, right? Or you've had that position before, or you've been on track to get that position, right? And you literally have to know all the technicalities of that, right? But then there's learning positions in which you become that position while you're in it, right? So know what type of role you're applying for, and if it's a knowing position, you have to know someone who's already been in it. You got to know the landscape, the environment. What do you need to know?
Yeah, and bother to get to know them. Yeah. So do the work associated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things I can go on and on, but you know, one is like you need to become a leader in your own role.
Yeah.
So that people see you, and then also you need to start garnering social capital in that space, so that it's not without a shadow of a doubt that when your name gets pulled out on that table for consideration, you go on to the next level, at least for an interview.
Yeah.
It has to be undeniable, right?
Yeah.
But we're like mediocre in our jobs and be like, well, I want some more money, and why? Not that you don't deserve it. I think that everybody deserves more money. I mean, come on. But I just think that you should work for it, and you should be prepared for the opportunity.
Yeah, and really putting yourself out there. Because if you're not even taking the steps to share it with somebody or to put yourself out there, say a little bit more. I mean,
do a little bit more.
Yeah, do a little bit more. I think that it kind of safeguards us from disappointment. I've been there before where it's kind of like, well, if I tell so many people, then on the other side of that, they're going to ask me if I got it. You know what I mean?
Only tell the people you like.
Yeah, I know, right? And so, you know, in order to avoid that disappointment, we sometimes hold back when the holding back is what's holding you back.
And you're still disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might I add, you're disappointed with yourself.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So we've done all this talking, but we have women that watch us every single week, and they have some questions as well. So I want to add to this conversation one of our audience members.
Oh, I'm game. Let's do it.
So we've been talking about whatever we wanted to talk about, but we want to hear from those of you who watch us every single week, our lovely audience. And I'm excited to host today Kitty, and she has a question. So how can we help you win, girl, win?
So my question is, in like corporate America, it is male dominated. So how can like I assert myself as a woman like boldly without, in a sense, like being offensive?
Ain't no way, girl. I mean, if you live your life trying to not be offensive, you know, you will live your life not accomplishing the things that you want. You have to be fair to yourself. And I think that women in general, we're always concerned about other people. People show up all the time and say, well, let me actually be clear. Men show up all the time and just be like, take me who I am, as I am. And then the whole world has to deal with it. Why is it so overwhelming for women to do the same? This is who I am. So what if you get called a B or whatever? Who cares? I just feel like when you have a seat at the table, use it. Speak up, advocate for yourself. Now, sure, process, unpack, do all your therapy you need to do to make sure that you're not projecting on anybody, right? But be fair. And I wouldn't necessarily worry about offending anyone. Just lead with your heart, right? Like I had someone someone asked me a question like, how do you break the glass ceiling? I'm not really focused on breaking the glass ceiling. I'm focused on my craft. I'm focused on who I am as a woman and being better. I'm focused on what I need to do. And if I shift my focus to trying to break the glass ceiling or trying not to intimidate or trying not to be offensive, I've lost my focus. I've lost what makes me happy. And so it's literally, to simply put it, it's just do you. Like if you're already great, you're already doing that. You take one meeting at a time and you advocate for yourself where you feel like you need to advocate.
Yeah. I mean, even the nature of the question, I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Is that possible to walk through life without offending? And especially when you are conquering things that are unconventional, when you're taking spaces that have traditionally belonged to other people, the very nature of like progression in life is offensive. People are offended when people that they know change, and we say things like, "Oh, she's changed," and I'm like, "Ooh, that's good." Like, like I would hate to have a friend and be like, she's the same friend I had 20 years ago. I'm like, then she shouldn't be your friend. Like, you're not a good friend to her. You haven't helped, And so when I think about that, the only thing I would add is be willing to apologize. So I will say that I've gone in destroying the limits, and I've done all kind of things, and like following my heart and doing what I felt like I was supposed to do, saying what I felt like I was supposed to say. And sometimes we offend without the intention to offend. And I would say in those moments, because sometimes you being you is offensive. It is. When you show up, people are offended sometimes. Okay. So foot through the door. Oh, we're offended. But the times outside of that, when you offend and you have a reason, or there maybe is something valid to it, I say be willing to apologize. And I have clarified on a lot of occasions. I've shared what my perspective is and really share what my heart is. And I think when you're at least willing to be vulnerable in that way and be a person, then people embrace that. And so for the times where you offend and you kind of need to step back a little bit, you step back, and then you forge ahead. And so that's the only thing that I would say that I would add. But I think that's a fair question, and I thank you for your honesty and coming on and asking that question, because it's something that many of us walk through. We tiptoe. We tiptoe in certain arenas. We tiptoe around certain people, and we got to stand in there and kick the door down, but make sure that we don't leave a mess in the trail. So
I have to really agree with you. There was something you just said about the person in that position traditionally just didn't look like you. In my industry, a professor, I'll ask everyone, what does a professor look like to you? White and male, 40 plus, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I come into the classroom looking like me, and people are taken back, and I've had students on several occasions challenge my authority because I look like I'm 19, I'm a Black woman, right? And so they think that my presence just walking in is challenging them, and it's offensive to them to what they know already, what they traditionally know. And so I don't mean to offend, I mean to be myself in all aspects. But I like what you said about even like that moment, I would never apologize. I want to apologize being myself. But if I offended someone in a way and I was just literally on my track of being a boss and whatever, I'd ask, like, I'm sorry that you felt that way. Tell me how I can do better, or tell me what exactly I did, because I don't just say sorry just to say sorry either, right? Because sometimes there's a lesson to be learned in that moment for the both of us. And sometimes I'm like, can we just sit down and talk? But like she said about just like leading with your heart and being authentic, people will embrace that. I really like what you said there.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
Ready to go be bold and assertive.
Yeah, and all that. And when necessary, then we clarify, because we still care about people, and and we love people. And so you being on your grind doesn't mean that, you know, we're gonna pull each other down. You know, we're gonna take everybody together.
Exactly.
Everybody's gonna win. We're gonna win together. But that's the end of our segment for this week. I do want to say thank you, Kitty, for coming on. Thank you for watching every week. And then thank you, Monica, for coming on and just sharing so transparently from your story and from your experience. So thank you so much.
Thank
for
you for
spending
having
time
me
with us. Absolutely. So thank you to our audience for watching us and tuning in this week. We want to celebrate everything that you're doing, and we are in your corner. So we want to hear from you. Comment, like, give us some feedback, because this show is for you. Make sure that you follow our special guest on social media. You're going to follow her at Monica Stockhausen on Instagram. And you also are going to want to follow Nerdy Girls Lifestyle. They give amazing tips on there and great information. Also, subscribe to Doing It with the Dumases. We want to make sure that you know when a new episode drops and you got all the information that you need. And until we get together again, guess what, ladies? I'm counting on you to destroy the limits.